Horror Island. This is day 17 of 31 in my 31 days of horror. This movie's from 1941 and it's only 61 minutes long, which is merciful. This one also did not say that it was a new scan. So an interesting thing about this Universal Horror Collection Volume 3 is that this movie, Horror Island, was like a double picture with this, which one? Man-Made Monster, which I didn't like very much. I mean, it was okay. It was like fun, but disposable. So in this collection, the Tower of London and Black Cat were like really good, and then these two were not so much. I mean, they were still like a fun, silly time, but they weren't like very good, if that makes sense. So now we're just gonna do my review like it's a book club and it's my turn to talk. I don't really recognize any of the cast on this one. So immediately after the credits, it fades in from black to this, and I thought this was the most awesome opening shot. Just like this ominous music. And this guy with a peg leg, pirate guy, in the dark street. Like, how cool of an intro is that? There's someone in the shadows. So basically the movie started and I was like, wow, what a cool scene. So I love the opening scene. So ominous, so interesting. It immediately raises so many questions. But unfortunately the movie went downhill from here. But even on these old Universal horror classics that I don't really like very much, there's still quite a bit to enjoy and to notice and to have fun with. So one thing here, so the peg leg guy finds himself thrown into the water and these guys rescue him. And one thing that I thought was really cool is this Bill guy, what he does when he sees he's missing his leg, because he doesn't know that he's a peg leg. He thinks it's like a recent amputation. And check this out. So the guy's immediately complaining about his leg as they set him down because he doesn't want his peg leg to drift out to sea. But watch this. Watch him.
His leg's gone. I'll fix a tourniquet. Yeah, sure. Hey, that ship blows at 12 p.m.
Okay. What I really like about that is, yeah, he might be like an adventuring, seafaring kind of guy. But I really like that he immediately thinks about a tourniquet. And like, not even any hesitation, like, oh no, your leg's gone, what do we do? He's just like, tourniquet. Like, he starts, I think what I'm seeing is he's pulling his belt off or something to immediately make a tourniquet. And I think that's just one of these, at least how I'm perceiving it, that's something that I think was more widely known in yesteryear among like harder adventurier men. So anyway, everybody nowadays, even right now, should know how to apply a tourniquet. So I think it's cool that this guy immediately jumped into that, even though it's not needed, obviously, because he's a peg leg guy. So that stood out to me as a cool thing early on in this movie. So a quick note real quick on the quality of the Blu-ray is this is very similar to the last one that I just barely reviewed, where it has a very, very, very heavy grain layer that you can see in the whites. So you can see, like, when it's paused, you can see that there's almost like a scruffy looking texture to that. But the one thing that's good is that the grain is actually moving, which means that they haven't digitally tried to freeze it or scrub it out, because that would just destroy all the fine detail. Like the detail in the faces would just disappear. So that's a good sign. However, it looks like a pretty old, not too involved like remaster. Like there's a handful of scratches. There's not a ton, but it's still nice HD image, but it's not the cleanest. It could definitely use an upgrade. However, I can't imagine anyone putting any more time into this. Totally, it's a B movie. I think this movie even played second in the I don't know if it was Mad Ghoul or Man-Made Monster. I gotta check. Yeah, it was a double feature with Man-Made Monster. And the DTS HD Master Audio Mono was totally serviceable. There was nothing great, but it worked. So again, very cool to see old movie in HD. Nothing amazing as far as the restoration goes, but very, very watchable. So part of my problem with this movie is that the writing is not very good and ultra convenient and just doesn't seem to make a ton of sense. So, for example, this guy, boop, has a treasure map. So they take it to like a map authenticator guy, and he's like, "Yep, it's a fake." And then the guy's like, and then this guy who basically has bill collectors knocking on his door all the time because he doesn't have any money is like, "Oh, a lot of people are trying to authenticate fake maps." So he decides to open like a fake treasure hunting business because he realizes a lot of people are into that. But the thing that doesn't make any sense is that they don't have any money. And so suddenly, like this scene, they're trying to get this map authenticated. And then the next scene,
To make
they like
ourselves a fortune. Here we go.
they open a new store of like treasure hunting stuff, and it's like totally stocked. So it's like, how did you afford this store? I don't understand. I mean, he has a property that he inherited. Anyway, so there's just little plot points that don't make sense and that are ultra convenient. And then when he meets the main girl of the movie is also like the laziest writing ever. So they leave their store and she's literally going to crash into them. It's just like, are you serious? Like, writing is hard, I guess. So let's just have them crash into each other. But one, it was cool to see some old-timey cars crash into each other for real, even if it was just a little bump. All right.
I thought so. A man driver.
Well, you're not so hot yourself.
Where's your driver's license?
So, I thought so. A man driving. You're not so hot yourself. My brain, having watched a whole bunch of these movies, says they're going to end up together. Spoiler alert, I'm right. So here's their whole scheme of what they're doing. They have a treasure hunt. They're going to go to a ghost-infested mansion, and they're going to look for treasure, and it's $50 a person. So it's their ticket to the big time. So he convinces the broad to go to the haunted island with him. And but this line she said I thought was very curious.
Persuasion overwhelming. But it's still going to cost you $200 more.
Maybe.
Coming up.
All right, now don't forget the boat leaves Saturday at 2 o'clock. Pier 5. For your tickets.
A still small voice tells me I'm crazy, but come, Thurman.
So she says a still small voice tells me I'm crazy for going on this little adventure with him. But what's impressive or interesting to me is that she said a still small voice. That's like a biblical term for like the Holy Ghost talking to you, or the Holy Spirit talking to you. So I thought it was interesting that she used that exact phrase in a movie. Well, I guess olden-timey movies were very heavily Christian based, so maybe it's not weird. But maybe it's weird nowadays because you would never see that in a movie nowadays. So it's interesting seeing her say that in an olden-timey movie. All right, so he's got a bunch of goofuses going on his little boat ride, and the movie's been very slow up to this point. I mean, there was like a little phantom guy running around in a cape and some people falling in the water and stuff, but it's pretty slow. And so all these people are getting on this boat to go over to a haunted island, and I'm just like sitting there looking at all of them as it's introducing all the characters, and I just found myself wishing such ill will upon all of them. I'm just like, I hope they all die horrible deaths. I don't know if it's the mood I was in when I was watching the movie or the fact that I know it's a horror movie, but I was just like, all these idiots on this boat, I'm just like, I hope they all have horrible things happen to them. All right, so a little delivery boy throws a package as the boat is leaving. It's like a mail. He drops it in the water. And then...
Come on.
Okay. So he's trying to fish the package out of the water. And it blows up. And then they're just like, oh, wow. That's crazy that happened. Anyway, let's go on to our little ghost adventure. And it's like, hang on. A little kid was just used to deliver a bomb to these people. So if that bomb would have gone off, like it would have blown up a whole bunch of them on this boat in like the city. And they're just like, well, let's just move along. So I know he has money trouble, so he's just avoiding all like official people. So he's trying to get away from the guy on the pier that's like a government guy. But it's like, hold on. A child was just used to deliver a bomb. Like, should we not just shrug this off? Like, I don't know. I felt like they just shrugged it off and go on with their adventure. Where it's just like, wait a minute, you almost just got killed. Like, should we figure this out or no? Let's just go on our boat ride. All right, this guy that they call the professor has an awesome line where he reminds me of the guy from Lady in the Water, like the movie critic writer.
Is it my fault if somebody puts a magnet in the compass and we've been going in the wrong direction for 6 hours?
Oh, what are you all
This guy-
complaining
listen.
about? This is exciting. It's adventure. Imagine, lost at sea, on the way to a haunted island with a ghost castle, where one of us might even be murdered.
One of us you.
It's gonna be more than one of you getting murdered, but I love that. That's just so perfect. They're on their way to this island, which is supposed to be a fake ghost thing, right? Like, it's obviously everything is staged, but I just love that this guy's so excited about just to get some excitement in his life. And yeah, there's gonna be bodies. So then later on the island, this before bed, because they all have to go to bed on a ghost island, this professor guy is reading this book, and he's like listening to it's not a radio because it's not live, but it's not like a tape player. Honestly, I have no idea what it is, and I would love to learn what it is. But look at this comic he's reading. Look at this.
Gloria Van Jean shivered. Even though it was a warm
It's kinda
night,
racy.
she was curled
But look.
up before a raging fire.
And it turns off. So he's reading this comic, but he's also listening to like a scary like audiobook, which I don't know if it's the audio of that comic. But it's like this little box, and I guess it has like a recording in it or something. So I'm not sure if there's a little record in there or what, but it's really interesting. So if you know what that is, let me know. I love the use of shadows in these old-timey horror movies. Look at this. This is so awesome.
This is your last warning.
Look at that.
You must leave here at once.
So you're not scaring me.
If you are wise, you will do what I tell you.
So spooky. Look at that. I love the imagery, though. I mean, even though this movie is just, like, not very good and cheesy, like, look at this. If that doesn't get you in the mood, I don't know what will. So here's a police officer or some kind of in law person basically interrogating this girl because he thinks that she shot the guy. And
Oh, that's it, huh? That's
look at
it.
him.
Your name is Grady, Mrs. Grady.
Look at this.
The wife of Killer Grady, the bank bandit.
Sure, the whole state was looking for him. Now do you get the idea?
I'm just
Yeah.
flipping that gun around. My head is gonna explode watching that scene, or maybe his head's gonna explode, or hers, because he's flipping it around like that, and this is so not safe. And he's a police officer, and you know better. Here you go. Take this face grab out of context. Apparently, these movies love this move, and I do too. Yoink! Then you have this guy running to investigate, and what is he doing? He's got his finger inside the trigger well and is just trying to get inside of this secret door, and it's just like, oh my gosh, get your finger off the trigger, you're driving me crazy. I'm gonna shoot something. Alright, something scary's happening.
What's the matter? What's trouble?
Wendy's
And
gone. This is more excitement than I've had in years.
it's like
Wendy,
people are
she's
getting
gone.
murdered all
Look up
over
there.
the place. It's like Agatha Christie, and then there were none. It's like people are they're dropping like flies, and this guy's like, "This is the most excitement I've had in years."
Is this somebody's idea of a joke?
So, in overall, I didn't like this one very much. I always have fun watching it. I'm always glad I watched it, and part of the reason I'm making this video to talk to you internet people is because I don't think I will meet another living person in my lifetime that has seen this movie or the other movies, these other older movies. And so it's fun to start a dialogue with people about these things, because most people I know will never watch this. So I didn't like this one very much. It was very B-movie. It was still fun. The writing had a lot of very like weak connections that it made and a lot of ultra convenient things. But then again, it had a lot of fun stuff. So, I mean, I'd say it's like middle of the road. I would probably watch it again if I was showing it to someone else. So I'm not gonna. There's no reason I would need to watch this again for me personally. But if I was going through and showing these to someone, then yeah, it would be fun to watch this silly movie again. But yeah, this has been day 17 of 31 in my 31 days of horror. So let me know what you think and if you've seen this, and stick with me for the next one. We'll see you later. Bye.